I'm Henry. All right, my friends, we are going to be exploring the first theme of the March 2025 energy forecast. So, the first theme is all about the awakening and intuitive heart, learning to trust inner wisdom. This is one of the 9 energy themes of March, designed to help you navigate the month with clarity, self awareness, and alignment. If you're interested in the full energy forecast, you can head to either the Inspiring You Show podcast or here on YouTube, and it can offer you the complete perspective. But for now, we're actually just going to focus on one of the energy themes, as well as tools, intentions, and journal questions to help support you in understanding this theme and also help you to integrate it with more support. But before we get to that, my friends, let us first find our center. So I invite you to find a comfortable position, either laying down or seated. And then I invite you to close your eyes, lower your gaze, and take a nice deep breath in. And then exhale. And then another deep breath in. And then exhale. Another deep breath in, letting yourself feel the rhythm of your breath as it moves through you. Inhaling clarity, presence, and inner peace. Exhaling doubt, resistance, and emotional weight. Letting go of tension, letting go of any distractions from the day. And now we're going to invite Reiki energy healing. And if you wish to receive Reiki, you can say, yes, I'd like to receive Reiki for my highest good. If you don't, that's okay. Reiki always respects free will. And then just taking another deep breath in. And if it feels right for you, gently put a hand over your heart. And then can you feel your heart's rhythm? Can you sense the quiet wisdom that resides in your heart? And then taking another deep breath in. This moment is yours. This space is one of connection, healing, and inner listening. And then take another deep breath in. All right. You can let go of the posture. And so, my friends, in this episode, we're going to be diving into one of the most important aspects of our spiritual and personal journey, the awakening of the intuitive heart, and really learning to trust inner wisdom, not just about emotional awareness. It is about learning to listen, feel, and act from the intelligence of the heart, which is deeply connected to our intuition, our energetic frequency, and our soul's truth. Really letting yourself hear that gentle whisper of your higher self soul coming through. In March, the month of March is really emerging as a deeply transformative month, one that is really calling us to awaken, realign, and empower the wisdom of the heart. So, this period is not just about intellectual understanding, it is about feeling, sensing, and deeply trusting the intelligence within you, within your heart. The heart is more than just an organ that pumps blood, it is an energetic powerhouse, a vibrational center of intuition, connection, emotional intelligence. According to the research for HeartMath Institute, the heart emits an electromagnetic field of 40 to 60 times stronger than the brain. It is a powerful reminder that true wisdom is not just mental, but deeply energetic. So the heart really is more than just a physical organ. It is an energetic processor that communicates with the brain, nervous system, your gut, your external environment. It sends out intuitive information before the brain may even register it. So, what you're going to be learning in this theme in today's episode, we're going to explore how the heart functions as an intuitive guide and vibrational power center, why emotional healing is surfacing, and how to move through it with grace, how to recognize and trust the signals your heart is sending you, why March is a pivotal month for releasing old emotional wounds and past karmic patterns, how the eclipse season is actually supporting to amplify this heart centered transformation, why trust both in yourself and the journey is the foundation of empowerment. So, this theme is not just about emotional awareness, it is about aligning with your deepest values, making heart centered choices, and stepping fully into your inner wisdom. So, how the heart functions as an intuitive guide and vibrational power center. Many people associate intuition with the third eye chakra, or mental perception. But one of the most powerful intuitive centers is actually the heart. The heart is a vibrational power center, constantly receiving and sending energetic signals, not only through emotions, but through an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond the body. So the heart is more than just a physical organ. It is a bridge between the mind, body, and spirit. Energetically, it's the core of the fourth chakra, the heart chakra, associated with balance, love, and compassion. The heart's electromagnetic field is the strongest in the body, often described as a vibrational beacon that tunes into emotions, intuition, and energy. So, when we really do listen, my friends, when we listen to our heart, we're not just following feelings, we're accessing a deeper wisdom that transcends logic. Think of it as a compass pointing us toward alignment with our authentic self, our higher self soul. So, then why emotional healing is surfacing and how to move through it with grace. Emotional healing often arises for many reasons, but one of them being when the collective energy shifts or when we're ready to evolve or we're being called to shift. And March may feel especially intense at times because the cosmic alignments that are spotlighting unresolved emotions to heal. So, to navigate this gracefully, embrace your tools, embrace your practices, whatever they may be. Whatever, if you're doing meditation, whatever style of meditation, if you're doing mindfulness, energy work, somatic tools, yoga, whatever it is you're doing, embrace it. I like to layer tools. Whatever supports you, though, lean into it. Create space to acknowledge your feelings and your emotions without judgment. Allow yourself to have a different relationship with your emotional body, letting yourself tune into the wisdom. Here on the Inspiring You show, I have been now doing the wisdom of emotions. We've done 2 episodes. So check those out. They have suggestions on how to work with emotions. Allow them to surface without judgment, in compassion, like waves returning to the shore, letting yourself allow these waves to come through, to process, download the wisdom, and then complete its experience. Let yourself lean into doing energy work, breath work, Reiki dowsing, grounding practices. They can support gently releasing and realignment, because March is inviting us to ask, am I listening to my heart's wisdom? Like, am I really listening to my heart's wisdom? And if you feel any sadness in just thinking about that, it's okay. Offer yourself compassion. Humaning can be really challenging in a lot of ways. And sometimes, too, when you really are moving into the heart more so, you may find that there was some frozen sadness that now is being released and unfreezing. So let yourself honor that wisdom. Let it process, complete, download that wisdom, letting yourself then shift, letting yourself truly connect to your heart and the wisdom. Another question that March is inviting us to ask: am I honoring my emotions as messengers rather than obstacles? Am I honoring my emotions as messengers rather than obstacles? Emotions have information, they're messengers. What are they trying to share with you? Let them share it. And I know sometimes it can be really uncomfortable. If sadness is there, or grief, or even anger, or disappointment, or even numbness, apathy, frustration, or it could be joy. Maybe there's hope. Maybe there's peace, love. Letting yourself honor the emotions as messengers rather than obstacles. March is also inviting us to ask: am I allowing my intuition to guide my choices, or am I only relying on logic? Sometimes our bodies can become imbalanced where we will become so focused on the mental body that then we become really, as an energy practitioner or an empath, intuitive empath, it feels like the head gets really heavy when the mental body is really imbalanced with the rest of the bodies. It feels really head heavy, if you will. Like so much thinking is going on, and the thinking and thinking is happening. And it almost feels like it's becoming cut off from the rest of the body, from the rest of the energy centers, the chakras, because the mental body becomes imbalanced with the rest of the bodies, with the emotional body, the physical body, the subtle body. So, really letting yourself balance the bodies. So, those are the three questions March is inviting us to ask. Am I listening to my heart's wisdom? Am I honoring my emotions as messengers rather than obstacles? Am I allowing my intuition to guide my choices, or am I only relying on logic? There may be more questions, but in regard to this theme. So, this month is a month of deep emotional clearing, also karmic release, and heart centered realignment. And when you hear that, my friends, I hope that you think of it as like, wow, all the tools that I have in my toolbox, I'm going to be able to really use them, and also understand the wisdom of that, that this is being called for a really deep clearing. And so know to start your practices earlier in the month as opposed to when it gets really challenging. Because if you're not doing the practices daily, it becomes even more intense at times. So if you do it daily, it will support you clearing along the way, and it might not be as intense. But just know that when there's deep emotional clearing, karmic release, and heart center realignment, that probably means there might be some breakdowns for breakthroughs. So lean into those tools, my friends, to support you. We're being called to clear in a whole nother way. And when it comes with karmic aspects, it's really supporting us in the present life. Like, have we learned our lessons? Or are we going to continue the karmic cycle of repeating them? Like, what is the wisdom? There might be karmic aspects from past lives or maternal lineages. Are you being called to break a cycle? And I know in some ways it can feel challenging because karmic aspects can add a whole nother intensity in the energy level. So lean into those tools to support you, because the more that you practice with the tools, the more that it will help you release faster and shift and download the wisdom. So it is a time to trust the process, even when it feels uncertain. There has been so many times in my life where I can look back and just, whew, things felt uncertain. And I just had to lean into having faith and trusting the process that it's unfolding for the highest good. And it didn't mean that it didn't feel scary or oof, like shaky or a little bit of fear and anxiety mixed in. There can be beneficial aspects of fear and anxiety. It's not all negative. It's just becomes negative when it becomes a non-beneficial pattern program when we become stuck and we're not downloading the wisdom. But sometimes fear and anxiety can make us feel a bit uncomfortable to wake up and support us in recognizing something. And also too, that's when in that waking up, it can support you in, okay, I can do this. And then you lean into the strength of, I call it my can do attitude. That even if there's a time in my life many, many, many years ago, I was in Hawaii working on a TV show, and we had just filmed people cliff diving, and we had an opportunity. The crew had an opportunity to also do cliff diving, and there were people there, like professional people there, who were watching when the tides were coming in and giving us green lights to go and the monitoring it so that way there was safety. They were there to support us in terms of the safety. And so my coworker and I decided that we were gonna do cliff diving. And I was so excited all day that I'm like, I'm gonna do cliff diving. I'm so excited about this. I was so excited. And I generally don't have a fear of heights. And so when it was our time to go, my coworker was like, "All right, yeah." And I said, "Yeah, you go first." And and he went, and then it was my turn. And as soon as I stepped up to this one spot where you're going to jump off, all of a sudden I became paralyzed in fear. And I just remember like, wow, I'm drowning in fear. And it's holding me so frozen. And I had this moment of like, wow. But at the same time, I was like, you know what though? I want to work with this fear. I want to tell my human that this is safe to do this. Like I can jump off this ledge and be safe. I can jump off this ledge and be safe. That I am safe. I can do this. And it was a moment of I can either stay stuck, paralyzed in this fear and turn around and walk away from this jumping off this ledge, or I can recognize the fear, acknowledge it, and say, you know what? We can do this. We can do this. We can change the course of our life and be in safety and jump into the unknown and know that we're going to be taken care of and it's for the highest good. And I said a little prayer. I called in my guides. I was like, I need help. I know that this is a very important, pivotal moment in my human. I need help. I need help to let myself take a step forward and jump into that unknown, knowing that there's a safety net and I'm going to be okay. And all of a sudden, a voice from above said, Henry, look up. And I looked up, and it was one of the camera operators who operated the jib, and he was taking apart the camera equipment. And he said, Henry, don't think, just put one foot in front of the other and go right now. And I did. I did. And it was so significant in my life because as I was doing the pencil dive, if you will, My feet were, like, running in the air as if to run away from the cliff, and I remember just, like, how on one hand, I felt like, "Wow, this is amazing. I feel so extraordinary." And on the other hand, I was like, "Wow, this is what fear how fear operates, and it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's the isness." And I had a whole new relationship with fear after that. And I realized that, you ask the beneficial aspect, is it truly unsafe for me to do? Or is it safe for me and I need to process the fear and reground, realign, and let myself take that leap? And that moment in the physicality of my humaning, I began a new relationship in a whole nother way with emotions. And as an intuitive empath, I always had a strong relationship with emotions, but that was a pivotal moment. And also just asking my guides, my higher self soul for support for the human. And when that voice above came literally above me, it was like, wow, how instant that was in terms of the prayer work. So constantly using the tools to support you and really shifting into the heart, because the heart, it's it is time to trust the process even when it feels uncertain. And let me tell you, it felt so exciting for me to be thinking about I was going to cliff dive the entire day, and then it felt so uncertain at that moment when I was about to jump. But then I let myself shift into it is a time to trust the process even when it feels uncertain. And because I'd also processed the fear, like, okay, I am safe. I can do this. This is beneficial. I took a moment to really tune in. And that's the whole workings of it. Shifting from your head to your heart and not just living in your head of like the fear just ballooning to the point where you're having then all the fear thoughts, making yourself a clear channel, processing the emotion. What is the wisdom of the emotion? What do I need to understand? Is it something from present life, past lives? Is it maternal and paternal lineages? In my family, in my maternal lineage, there has been a lot of fear that induced just staying stuck. And so is it mine? Is it from the maternal lineage? Is it then a cycle being called to be cleared to then shift? Is it a cycle for change makers now? And so the heart is awakening. So will you answer its call? And so in that moment for me, cliff diving, that was just one of the many times of shifting from my head to my heart, and also recognizing of breaking cycles to become a change maker, to make new pathways of being in the lineages. And also then when I did jump and I got down there and I got up, it was just a remarkable feeling. It was just awe-inspiring. It was so awe-inspiring to work through and troubleshoot and work through the problem of feeling so scared and paralyzed by fear. It was life-changing and awe-inspiring. So for you though, look back in your life of how you've shifted and how something, something like a cliff dive, like I actually just did a pencil dive. I guess running in the air dive. Um, how something like that That probably I mean, it probably took less than it's probably less than a minute to do. How something could have evolved your life and been embodied because it's heart awakening. This is heart awakening. So will you answer the call, shifting from your head to your heart? And then let's talk more about then how to recognize and trust the signals your heart is sending you. Your heart communicates through intuition, subtle sensations, emotional resonance. So when faced with decisions, you notice different physical cues, warmth, expansion, a sense of ease, often, signal alignment, while tightness or unease may indicate misalignment. That being said, though, you also have to read. Okay, fear can feel that way. Feel can feel like, oh, there's a tightness and unease. But you have to discern whether it's truly misalignment or in you stepping up to a ledge to get ready to jump, what's really happening there? Is there something from past life that came in to be cleared? Is there something from lineages? Or is this something like in terms of you moving through an obstacle that's going to clear a path for you to embody deeper wisdom and shifting greater? Because once you process it, like once I processed it and said a prayer and that camera person called my attention, I completely became a clear channel and I just put one foot in front of the other and I went. And I went. And it was because I allowed myself to trust. So trusting your heart signals, it does take practice. It takes practice to use discernment with it, just to really discern what's really happening in that current moment. And things that can help is journaling, meditation, um, talking to your higher self, your guides, listening inward can strengthen this connection. And then also learning the signs and the signals, paying attention to the synchronicities. They're often heart-driven nudges guiding you forward, but that's also a practice of then reading and understanding the synchronicities. So the heart really is an intuitive compass. And in energy work, the heart functions like a dynamic valve, regulating the flow of love, connection, emotional energy. And when open, it allows love, trust, intuitive clarity to flow freely. When blocked, it can create emotional stagnation, fear, or disconnection. It can create confusion. So check in right now. Close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, put your hand on your heart. How open is your heart right now? How open is your heart right now? Do you allow yourself to feel deeply? Do you allow yourself to feel deeply? Or do you guard yourself against emotion? Do you allow yourself to feel deeply or do you guard yourself against emotion? And whatever the answer is, bring compassion to your human in your heart. It's being human is complicated and complex in a lot of ways. Being multidimensional, it's no joke being here in this physical experience. So this month invites you to heal, soften, and reconnect with your heart's intuitive knowing. There's different types of practitioners and there's different types of, whatever you want to call it, like light workers. And there are people who are just, they may have had one lesson to learn this entire lifetime in their humaning, which is amazing. And there's other people who've just had more for whatever reason in terms of, the soul human work they're doing here. There's some practitioners who really are just, I'm gonna be in that 5D and higher, and I live in this realm. There are other practitioners who understand and live in the 5D and higher, but also still are doing clearing work. And so you then see the different cycles happening in ways that the other practitioners are just not maybe privy to, or really in consciousness of, because that's just not their work to do. And so, yeah, so when I say like it's complicated. Whereas someone might say like, "Oh, the 5D and living higher is, that blissful living," which is amazing if they're always in that space and they're not being called to do deeper clearing work for the collective. And that's essentially, in my experience of where I am as a practitioner, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to also one day be complete with that and shift and change. And who knows where you're on your journey. And that's why things aren't right, wrong, good or bad. It's the isness, and just really recognizing what you're being called to and what's happening in your experience. And as a co creator, where you are and working with the universe. So this month is inviting us to even more so heal, soften, and reconnect with your heart's intuitive knowing. When we really allow our hearts to fully open, we really reduce suffering, not only for ourselves, but also others. A closed heart does not protect you, it actually isolates you. And there's just been this aspect when people talk about like heartbreak and things like that, that then they're just closing off. And there might be heartbreak, but the thing is, though, you couldn't feel that unless you really didn't care about and love. So it's letting us process the pain and the suffering of something ending or completing, downloading that wisdom and letting ourselves shift, and not just closing off out of pain and suffering under a non-beneficial pattern or program that you're thinking that it's protecting you. It's not. A closed heart doesn't protect you, it isolates you. It actually keeps you really from what you're here to do, is connect with others in this physical world. Why do you think your higher self soul wanted to come into a physical world where you could have physical experiences? So March is a time, just saying this gets me emotional, because I just see so often so many people closed off, and yet they so want to have heart connected experiences. They yearn for heart connected experiences. And it is like, whew, tell you, this is what it looks like to be somebody who's an intuitive empath who cares about humanity. And because when you really let yourself have that heart to heart connection, oh my gosh, it is one of the most incredible experiences. And I want that for people. I want that for you. And it doesn't mean that if you have a heart to heart connection, doesn't mean that you're not going to have moments with that person. We're human. Things come up. It's learning tools to process emotions, learning tools for communication. But March is a time to dismantle barriers, release heart walls, any non-beneficial heart walls, release emotional weight, trust in the intelligence of the heart. The heart senses vibrational frequencies, detecting when something feels right or misaligned long before we can rationalize it. And if we have like a heart wall around it, or we've really hardened ourselves from feeling, then we're not letting ourselves operate at full capacity. And their heart responds to truth and authenticity. When we are in alignment, we really sense warmth, ease, or expansion in the chest. When we ignore our inner wisdom, the heart may contract or feel heavy, signaling that something is energetically off. In other words, the heart is always constantly speaking, but are we listening? So consider this. Have you ever walked into a room and felt either a strong sense of comfort or an unexplained sense of unease? This is your heart reading energy before your mind processes it. Think about a time when you met someone and instantly felt connected. There was a time many, many, many years ago when I was working on a show, working on a set. I was in Malibu in California, and we were working at a house. And I had just come into a room and I saw this person from across the room. And it was like a moment for both of us where everyone else, like everything stopped. We both had this incredible heart connection where we both instantly felt such joy and peace, which later on, the intuitive energy practitioner I work with said, you both felt the energy of love. We both had an instant recognition from soul to soul in our human experience happen. And it was this incredible heart to heart experience. And the whole room just, just completely, I mean, it was like everyone else was frozen and it was just us in the experience. It was one of the most profound experiences. Really incredible. Like, I mean, the joy and the peace that I felt in my heart, the energy of love, it just was incredible. And I'm not talking about like when people get really caught up in like romantic love. It's the true energetic vibration of love. The recognition that our souls had in the human experience. It was really profound and amazing. And it's like I had that experience with that person. We worked for a couple more years together, and then I haven't I haven't talked to him in, it's probably been like maybe like 10 years. Because when you've complete with an experience, you're complete with it. But that doesn't mean that the experience along the way wasn't something grand for you to understand in your embodiment in your humaning. And that was a profound moment that just really truly showed me what the energy of vibrational energy of love can feel. That joy and peace and that deep soul connection of remembrance of like, oh, our souls recognize each other in this human experience. It was profound. And that's your heart's intuition at work. Or conversely, when something about someone feels off, but you can't really explain why, that's your heart's intuition at work. Our job this month is to reconnect with our heart's wisdom and to learn to interpret its signals with greater trust and clarity. Doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect at this. Doesn't mean like, oh my God, I'm going to immediately know, which maybe you will receive downloads. But oftentimes the human is here to learn, grow, and evolve. So it might happen in small waves. And but also with this though, in order for you often to really shift into the heart, it's about healing emotional wounds and releasing the past. This month is particularly intense when it comes to emotional healing and karmic patterns. Old betrayals, regrets, unresolved emotions may surface. Deep seated patterns of self worth, relational wounds may come up for review. Ancestral ancestry in terms of maternal lineages and generational healing may be activated, revealing inherited emotional prints. Like I mentioned when I was, cliff diving, that was definitely like there's an inherited emotional imprint of fear that got activated as soon as I as soon as I got close to that ledge. So with that then, here's the questions, are you feeling waves of unexpected emotions? Are certain relationships, memories, or themes reappearing? I can't tell you in the last couple days in private sessions, people have been coming in with like, why am I having these dreams or why are these memories popping up of so and so again? And it's so interesting because people get really like almost sometimes frustrated or angry that the memories and the themes or the relationships are reappearing. And if we just look at it as like that person that I mentioned that I had that moment with where, from across the room, it's like if if all of a sudden I had a dream of something, it would mean that, oh, what hasn't been processed and completed? What is the wisdom? What is being called to? Why is this memory coming into play? And oftentimes it's really not about the other person per se, but it's about what you're there to learn and have you let yourself learn it. Like with that person, I mean, one of the reasons why I ended up on the path of really becoming a trauma informed practitioner was because him and I and this other person ended up in this situation where all three of us, we triggered in different ways based on our each of our childhood traumas. And it was so interesting for me as like from a space of like growth mindset of curiosity of like what's happening here as the observer, like what is really happening here. As a human it was really challenging because I was processing just a lot of loss and grief that had come up from childhood, but I was in that present moment. But it was fascinating to see how three different people could be in one experience and all have different reactions, trigger reactions. And to the point of for him, he actually triggered so hard that we were in California. He triggered so hard that his flight got triggered, his, fight, flight, freeze, his flight got triggered. He actually got into a car and drove to Mexico. That's how much his flee syndrome, his trigger. And I was so like, wow, like how someone can be so traumatized from a childhood situation that as an adult, they could get triggered so hard that they would go into flee mode and that their sense of safety would be to go from Los Angeles to Mexico. I was like, what is happening here? I need to understand what is happening here. How is the human, what is going on in this humaning experience on a whole nother level? And so that was really, one of the reasons why, we had that profound experience was really to wake me up to the next part of my life, the next chapter of my life. It was a crossroads moment that him coming into my life at that time was to help me wake up to then shift to a new chapter in my life. And so when you're looking at things, it's really not just looking at the surface. You sometimes have to go so underneath it and not to analyze it to death, but it's an intuitive investigation of like clearing the dense energy of like what's really going on here. And then clearing that layer, what's really going on here. Sometimes you got to ask like, 10, 20 times. And sometimes it's not all at once that it's going to reveal itself. Sometimes it's years because you're in the process of learning, growing, and evolving. But that's where you want to look at what's really going on. Have you been feeling waves of unexpected emotions? Are certain relationships, memories, or themes reappearing? Because this is not a random emotional cycle. It is a clearing process. It's a clearing process. So, why is, though, March a pivotal moment for releasing old emotional wounds, past karmic patterns, and for emotional transformation? So, cosmically, March also just serves as a transitional month, bridging, if you will, depending on where you are in the world, winter's introspection with spring's rebirth. It invites us to shed the heaviness of old stories, wounds, or karmic imprints. Cosmic events such as the equinox or eclipses, planetary transits amplify this energy, encouraging us to reevaluate and release patterns that no longer support us. The universe is literally trying to help us out by like positioning the sun, the moon, the planets, like help the earthlings out. And it's a powerful practice this month that could also then involve like writing down what you're ready to release and then doing a whole ritual with it. If you feel called to, a gesture of letting go. So, this is really a time in even a grander way to release what no longer supports you, honor the wisdom of the past, step forward with that wisdom in clarity, deeply connected to your heart. And if you heard something in the background, that was my dog. She just woke up from a nap. So then why trust both in yourself and the journey? Because you're then building in a foundation of empowerment. Trust is the anchor that keeps you grounded through uncertainty. And sometimes when you feel like you can't get to trust, utilize hope as a way to anchor you. There was a time, oof, that whole experience I talked about, man, because I was also being called to start. I didn't know it at the time, but I was being called eventually to leave television too. And I had work PTSD to heal. I was also going through loss and grief of leaving the industry and a lot of aspects. And I felt so shaky in my core. I couldn't even get to trust, to anchor, but I could get to the word hope to anchor. So I let hope anchor me. I would reground in hope. And then once I felt foundationally solid in hope, I eventually reconnected to trust as an anchor. So, whatever you can do, whether you can do trust to anchor you that keeps you grounded through uncertainty, maybe it's hope, maybe it's faith, whatever it is, let yourself use the vibrational energy of words to support you in it. I also sometimes will say, like, the can do attitude, like really letting myself shift into when I say can do attitude, it's really the growth wise mindset, the growth mindset, the optimistic mindset. I say can do because it helps my human anchor into that energy, that vibrational energy, whatever works for you. Because essentially it is about understanding and the knowingness of your ability as an energy alchemist to navigate challenges and embrace the unknown with trust, with faith, with hope, with can do attitude, whatever you want to call it. Because when you really open yourself up to trusting yourself, that's when you really reclaim your inner power, knowing that you are resilient and resourceful. I've had so many experiences in my humaning. I feel like I definitely am like at like a PhD level with resilience and resourcefulness. So With this, then, with trust, trust radiates outwards, strengthening your connection with the universe, allowing life to unfold with more grace. But that doesn't mean that things aren't going to happen. Because I always say, like, with ease and grace. So if it is bumpy along the way, whew, I'm like, thank goodness I said with ease and grace, because I can't imagine how much more bumpier it would have been. Building this foundation also requires self compassion, a ton of self compassion. And then also using affirmations to support you in anchoring and remembering all the past moments that you overcame with courage. Remembering those past moments that you overcame with courage. Like the moment I told you about how I cliff dive, like I overcame that and I shifted into courage. That experience I said too of, that guy and I seeing each other from across the room and having that real heart moment. There was a moment in our experience where I understood in our physical world that we were going to be complete for a while from seeing each other in the physical world. And we were on a shoot for like 3 months together. And I knew the last month that it was going to be complete for a while. Like I don't know if I'm ever going to see him again in this physical world, but I knew it was going to be. I knew that that time was coming, and I had so much loss and grief. And then after that, like maybe 6 months later, maybe less than 6 months later, there was another opportunity. We were going to be in the same city at the same time, and we were tentatively making plans. We were making plans to see each other. And I meditated on it, and I just was like, we're just complete for now. Like, we're complete. And one of the hardest things I did was get onto a plane to come back to LA. And I just, just sent a text saying, I had to get back home. But what really happened was we had been just getting caught in a circle of just human confusion. And it just we were complete in our experience, and it was just time, like, for me to really step into letting go of a world that I was saying goodbye to for now, and moving into a new world. I was moving into a new chapter, and we had to go in our crossroads. We were in a crossroad moment. We met in a crossroad moment, and we were in a crossroad where I was going down a different path than him. And I was also making different choices than him. I really wanted to choose the heart and the energy of love. And I was choosing the heart and the energy of love. And he was getting caught in, he just was choosing more fear and the old. And it's not right, wrong, good or bad. It's the business of the isness. And it doesn't mean that two people don't care about each other or love each other. It's just we have choices. And oftentimes, our past experiences can be affecting our present choices without even us realizing it or clouding it. It might be clouding it because we may not be taking enough time to really process and really understand what's happening here in our human experience. And it was such a moment. And so getting on that plane was hard and took courage. Yet also it was liberating because I knew that one thing was completing and I was shifting into another. And I didn't understand all. And it didn't mean that I didn't have loss and grief and wasn't processing. But I understood that I had been at the crossroads. And in getting onto the plane, I was making a definitive choice in terms of my next path, and I was leaving the crossroads. And so a lot of times things like that can be happening in our experience, and you might not even understand like how the inner compass is guiding you until years later, and how something profoundly impacted you in a beneficial way to help you shift onto the path that had been calling you. In regard to, if you look at your divine blueprint, your divine guide, your soul path, how we have these beneficial, at times, soul contracts with each other. And we were contracted for a certain point to support waking up on a whole nother level. But even knowing that each human has free will. And that was the other thing that it taught me, that each human has free will. And that in you having your free will, you can have an incredible soul connection with somebody and also a human connection. But you have to keep choosing, allowing your soul to be embodied in the human, and also keep choosing really being in your heart. And in your heart also oftentimes takes courage, because you are then wanting to sometimes do things that hasn't really been brought into humanity in a greater way yet. It can be much easier in some ways to shut down and choose fear. It can be sometimes in this human experience a lot harder to choose love and the heart. Even though when you are choosing love and the heart, it just opens you up to so much more possibility and a grander experience. But that's why we're clearing so much in our society and culture, is because there's just been a lot of patterns and programs that have been so cemented in out of, humanity being in survival mode. If you look at the history of humanity, there's been a lot of challenges here. I often think about what it was when it must have been like to, be, oh my god, when the dinosaurs were here. Just imagine how scary that must have been, and talk about constantly being in fight, flight, freeze, and survival mode. But just imagine that DNA of your ancestors, that fight, flight, freeze being sent through your DNA. And so even though our souls are in the energy of love and that high vibe light, our humans still have these ancestral traits that are being cleared. And so your soul chooses the energy of love, but it doesn't mean your human has reached the capacity to have evolved beyond what has been cleared in the ancestry. And so then if you had human trauma in this present life that has only conditioned you to disappointment or loss and grief, or wanting to protect yourself from it, then it's easier to choose what the past ancestors have done and just shut down to the possibility of really being awakened in your heart. Even though being in your heart is really where your power center is, it's really where your inner compass is. And that's really what I learned. I mean, I learned so much from that experience, but that was one of the most profound things I learned, was the understanding of like, wow, you you can't take for granted that the soul is going to be completely embodied in the human. It's just, you can't take that for granted. And you can't always think that the soul is embodied, that it is about, in the moment to moment awakening of, where am I in this experience? So then learning then to recalibrate your inner compass. So in that crossroads moment for myself, whew, it was like recalibrating my inner compass of like what truly mattered, and like asking myself, like, what truly mattered and where was I in the experience, and then what I was being called to. It was one of the hardest experiences, but one of the most profound because of the amount of healing that I have done, and it had completely changed the trajectory of my life. Deciding to get on that plane changed the trajectory of my life. I I let go of being caught in the crossroads. And if you stay too long in the crossroads, whew, it can become so confusing. And I stepped into where I was being called from my divine blueprint. Because remember, we have free will. So even if you're being called to something, it doesn't mean that you're answering the call. So, recalibrating your inner compass of what truly matters. This month asks us to reevaluate our values and priorities. What brings you real joy? I can't tell you how many times I've learned so much through doing private practice. I can't tell you how many sessions I've done with people where there's just people are just living in stress. And it's like, when is the last time you let yourself experience any joy? Like real joy. And that is why really learning to shift from your head to your heart, and even if it's just moments of pockets of it, it could be a pocket of just walking your dog, or you could be doing dishes and a song could come on and you're finding joy in singing. My latest thing in joy is I do Duolingo almost every day, or I try to. And I've been doing French for years. And just recently, I was like, "Oh, yeah, they have the music component." And so they've got a little music component, so I'm learning to play, I don't know, I guess the digital piano, and it's just bringing me so much joy to do, like, a couple music lessons, learning to play the digital piano. Like, what brings you joy? What stirs your passion? Are you living in alignment with your true emotional needs? So, within any kind of turbulence or challenges being triggered by the powerful eclipse season we're going to be going through, just know you may feel overwhelmed or uncertain, but that's coming up for a reason to support you. You might be in your crossroads, and it's okay to be in the crossroads because that's coming for a reason. There's there You're being called to change paths. So remember, growth is not linear. It is always forward moving, but it's not linear. It is not linear. So, this is a time to let your heart lead rather than allowing the mind to control the journey. Trust emerges as a pivotal theme. Trust in the journey, trust in your emotional process, trust in your own capacity to navigate life's complexities. Even if you're like, but my human doesn't have all the tools or know how to do meditation perfectly, it your higher self soul understands. Trusting in your higher self soul and your guides. I can't tell you, like, I don't even know where I'd be if I didn't have the relationship I have with my guides. And my guides are like really like my besties. They are like my besties that are like doing their best to support me through this experience. And there has been so many times that they have come in and just helped me out because my human hasn't had the answers, but my guides have come in offering wisdom and support. And oftentimes navigation of where to go next when I have felt so confused. And then it's just a process learning how to trust. So let's just talk about, though, the astrological influence and the energy theme connection to this one. So the astrological movements of March 2025 mirror the awakening of the heart. The blood moon eclipse in Virgo on March 14th is all about deep healing, karmic release, reveals what we've been holding on to in terms of emotional weight. Eclipses are powerful celestial events that disrupt normal patterns, ushering in change and awakening. This year's eclipses, especially if they occur in signs associated with love, relationships, or transformation, may activate the heart's energy. They can uncover hidden truths, spark emotional clarity, they can also bring huge shifts in the heart-centered living. They are catalysts for change. Working with the lunar and solar energies of the eclipses, as well as any of the moons happening, I mean, not the moons, the planets happening, um, can really support you. Doing meditations, energy work, rituals, simply being present can really deepen the transformative process. Other astrological influences in this energy theme connection is the Sun conjunct Neptune, which is on March 19th, enhances heart centered awareness and intuitive trust. Venus star point in Aries, March 22nd, breakthroughs in self worth, relational clarity, heart driven action. Venus conjunct Neptune, March 26th, dissolves illusions, helps us heal through unconditional love. The cosmos is guiding us toward deeper emotional awareness, self trust, and relational clarity. But it's up to you and your human whether or not you want to answer that call. I mean, there'll be another time when the cosmos comes around again. And depending whether you do it now or later, that's all up to you. You have free will. And then here are the journal questions for this theme. I'll also put them in the show notes. What emotional wounds or karmic patterns is my heart asking me to release this month? What emotional wounds or karmic patterns is my heart asking me to release this month? How can I strengthen my ability to trust my intuitive heart rather than second guessing myself? How can I trust my ability to, how can I strengthen my trust? Hold on, let me say that again. How can I strengthen my ability to trust my intuitive heart rather than second guessing myself? In what ways have I closed my heart due to past hurts? And how can I begin to reopen it? In what ways have I closed my heart due to past hurts? And how can I begin to reopen it? What relationships or experiences bring me the deepest sense of connection? And how can I cultivate more of them? What relationships or experiences bring me the deepest sense of connection? And how can I cultivate more of them? How does trusting my heart's wisdom impact the choices I make in my life? How does trusting my heart's wisdom impact the choices I make in my life? So, those are some of the journal questions. And here are some intentions and affirmations for this energy theme. If you wish to repeat them after me, if they resonate, please do so. All right, here we go. I trust the wisdom of my heart to guide me. I trust the wisdom of my heart to guide me. I release the past and step into emotional clarity. I release the past and step into emotional clarity. I honor my emotions as sacred messengers. I honor my emotions as sacred messengers. I open my heart to love, healing, and renewal. I opened my heart to love, healing, and renewal. And then if you wish to, if you're releasing emotional blocks, this could be an intention for you. I release all unresolved emotional weight, inherited karmic imprints, and fears of vulnerability. And I call in heart centered healing, clarity, and renewal. I release all unresolved emotional weight, inherited karmic imprints, and fears of vulnerability. And I call in heart centered healing, clarity, and renewal. If you're letting go of distrust, you could say, I dissolve past wounds that have led me to doubt my heart's wisdom, and I embrace intuitive trust as my guiding force. I dissolve past wounds that have led me to doubt my heart's wisdom, and I embrace intuitive trust as my guiding force. if you're healing from past hurt. I clear the pain of betrayal, rejection, or disappointment and welcome in relationships that are built on mutual care, trust, and authenticity. I clear the pain of betrayal, rejection, or disappointment and welcome in relationships that are built on mutual care, trust, and authenticity. If you're restoring emotional flow, you could say, I let go of energetic stagnation in my heart and invite the full, uninhibited flow of the energy of love, connection, and inner peace. I let go of energetic stagnation in my heart space and invite the full, uninhibited flow of love, connection, and inner peace. If you're aligning with heart's truth, I release the need for external validation and call in deep self deep self-acceptance, allowing my heart's truth to guide me forward. I release the need for external validation and call in deep self-acceptance, allowing my heart's truth to guide me forward. So those are some of them. I'm going to put them in the show notes and you can repeat them. You can also write them too. Sometimes writing them 10, 20 times. If you also do Reiki, you can put on the Reiki symbols too. You can Reiki them. There's a lot of different ways. You can also go on nature walks where you're repeating them as well to support you. There's a lot of different ways that you can work with them. So use the tools to support you this month. And then we're going to be wrapping this up. So before we go, we are going to do a short little meditation. So I'm going to invite you then to once again find a comfortable position, either laying down or seated. You can put your hands over your heart if that feels right for you. And take a nice deep breath. Feel your heart, its steady rhythm. Feel the warmth of your own presence. Now let yourself visualize, sense a being knowingness of beautiful light infused with Reiki energy healing, moving through you, around you, clearing, cleansing, releasing, rejuvenating, revitalizing, allowing the light to fill in spaces for the highest good, downloading any wisdom, really letting yourself shift into the energy of love and peace and harmony, receiving the healing for your highest good, taking another deep breath in, and then silently affirm if this resonates with you. I trust my heart's guidance. I trust my heart's guidance. I trust my heart's guidance. I move forward with clarity and love. I move forward with clarity and love. I move forward with clarity and love. I am open, I'm whole, I'm aligned. I'm open, I'm whole, I'm aligned. I'm open, I'm whole, I'm aligned. I trust my heart's guidance. I trust my heart's guidance. I trust my heart's guidance. Taking another breath in. Breathe out. Letting the light move through you. Letting yourself shift from 3D to 5D or higher for your highest good. And then take a moment for gratitude. Really letting you feel the energy of love and gratitude. I'm grateful for, and name 3 things. And then take another breath. Bring awareness behind your eyes. Open your eyes and welcome back, my friends. Okay, so the heart is awakening. The past is being released. You are stepping into a new level of emotional clarity and trust. March is your invitation to embrace the wisdom of the heart, to heal, to trust, and to move forward with love. You're exactly where you need to be, and you are so loved, my friends. So, so loved. With that, we are going to be complete for now, but before we go, let's just delink. So we break the links. And so You can repeat after me if this resonates with you. If you're a Reiki practitioner, you can also do dry bathing. I ask to break the links with this mindfulness chat, with this Reiki meditation. I ask to break the links, leaving only harmony and balance at either ends. I ask to clear any residual energies being held in my body as a result of these links. I ask the light to fill the void, solves, rejuvenates, refreshes, revitalizes for the highest good with ease and grace and gratitude. If I went too fast, you can just say ditto. And I ask this healing to be sealed with love and light, this healing to be sealed with love and light, this healing to be sealed with love and light. And so it is. And so it is, my friends. You are so loved, my friends. And with that, we are complete for now. Much, much love. Until soon. And stay inspired, my friends.